Is it time to pack it all in? I'm sure many of you out there are feeling betrayed by the cryptocurrency space, certainly the altcoin sector that had the promise of insane returns, and that quite hasn't come to fruition yet. However, I'm here to bring you guys the good news. Now, of course, I'm referring to people that have invested over the past couple of years and haven't quite seen the returns they were hoping for altcoins. There's some that have done spectacularly for us over the past couple of years, like XRP, still 300% personally up for myself, Hedera, so on and so forth. But generally, I think there's a major disappointment when it comes to the altcoin sector. And I'm here to give you guys some spectacular news. Now is not the time to sell your crypto. In fact, the opposite is true. It's time to double down and understand fundamentally what is taking place here with this industry. We're looking at the dawn of the internet of value. We've spoken about that on many occasions and just how fundamentally transformational this technology is to the worlds of finance, but more broadly, systems generally. We live in a very fragmented world, and with these unified ledgers, we can bring everything under one roof. And a major application for that happens to be within the financial sector as it relates to money and financial products more broadly. And with that, I believe some of these layer one smart contract cryptocurrencies are going to be worth trillions of dollars. But I don't specifically want to talk to you guys about fundamentally why you should be paying attention to this industry. I want to talk to you guys technically about why now is the perfect time to be interested in the cryptocurrency market. You guys will know that I believe markets move generally in four phases. You have an accumulative phase, which is what we look at as phase one, an uptrend, which is phase two, and then you have a distributive phase, as Wyckoff would have called it, being phase three, and a downtrend. And I believe that the majority of the cryptocurrency space, certainly the altcoin sector, is in phase two, having had pretty spectacular moves on the back end of last year, 2024. We're talking about November, December. Since then, the markets have been pulling back, but I believe they're on the cusp of a move to the upside. And I think one thing that I want to bring up is the Wall Street cheat sheet. Now, the Wall Street cheat sheet maps out emotions that are attached to a market cycle. You know, as human beings, we're emotional creatures. I'm sure many people tell you not to be emotional when it comes to investing and trading. However, I think that's easier said than done. Even for somebody like myself that's been an investor for many years, but certainly an investor in the cryptocurrency space, which is very much like dog years. You know, crypto investing kind of translates 1 year in crypto investing is like 7 years in the traditional investment arena. I've been in the crypto space since 2017 and I've done exceptionally well off of it. And I think you guys are on the cusp of doing very well out of this cycle. And what I want to do is bring up that Wall Street cheat sheet and look at where I believe we are. That betrayal you're feeling is really denial. People don't believe what's coming at this stage. They are fatigued and they've had a lot to contend with. We're not blaming anyone for being fatigued, but what we're saying is you need to hold on. And just to segue a little bit, I just want to make this point abundantly clear. I make money regardless whether you guys buy crypto or sell it. It doesn't matter to me whether you hold it or you don't. The reason this channel exists is because I truly believe that there is a major opportunity that this technology is going to allow retail investors to take part in. You know, if you compare the Internet of Information, the kind of Web 2 world, to the Web 3 world, the technologies and companies that enabled the internet were worth hundreds of billions, today trillions of dollars. I think layer one blockchains are going to do the same thing, not just layer ones, but smart contract blockchains. Distributed ledgers are essentially offering the same opportunity, and I think we've only seen one blockchain get to $1 trillion so far. I think there are going to be multiple. Back to the Wall Street cheat sheet. Where we are right now, I believe, is in that denial phase, and it's very reminiscent for me going back into 2020 when we had the lockdowns and of course the COVID-19 crisis. What we saw there was a similar thing in regards to what we're seeing today. Of course, we don't quite have the crisis, but we have very similar price action and market structure. I'm going to show you that. So if you look at this schematic, focus on the denial phase. Let's dive over to Bitcoin back in 2020 when it saw a similar thing. And believe you me, I was there, I was making content in and around that. And it was an exceptionally hard time to be a cryptocurrency investor. However, and this is where we're going to link it to the positioning of the space today, if you had held on, you would have done sensationally well. And I think the same opportunity is at hand. So what I want to do is pull that up. We've mapped out the emotions on this, on the last sort of Bitcoin cycle leading into the last bull market. And I want to now show you a variety of altcoins. let's now fast forward today and where the altcoin sector is. And one thing that I want to note is that the same emotions are present, and we're in a similar kind of position as far as market structure is concerned. We've had that initial move to the upside, we've woke up, now we've had a pretty severe pullback, amplified by tariffs and things like this in opposition with the COVID-19 crisis. People are feeling scared, there's max uncertainty, which I believe is a great time to actually enter the markets like there was during the COVID crash. And then what I believe we're going to see is continuation into phase two and the rest of the cycle play out. And believe you me, when this train starts to leave the station, the FOMO is going to be unbelievable. And we always try to position before the masses enter. And if you look at Google Trends, things like this, people aren't really interested in the cryptocurrency space. And when you have the combination of a truly transformational technology that you can invest directly into and a lack of interest, that makes the remedy for a perfect opportunity. And that's where we are today. So the first altcoin that I want to talk to you guys about is one of my favorite. In fact, it's the largest position in my portfolio. It's Hedera Hashgraph and of course the HBAR token. Look at where this is. We've had that initial move of 700%. We've pulled back. The pullback, by the way, happens to be in the fashion of a falling wedge, which is typically a trend continuation pattern on the smaller time frames. But on the bigger time frames, Hedera is perfectly positioned to do extremely well in the coming months and years. And I believe that's what's on the cards. Again, going back to fundamentally where we're at, we're about to see legislation towards the industry, which we're yet to have. This asset class hasn't even been allowed to become that. And we're on the cusp of that being enabled. But let's focus predominantly on technically where we are and show the opportunity that's at hand. If you take a look at Hedera Hashgraph and where it's currently at, I mean, it is literally in that denial phase. And I think sentiment very much aligns with that. Now, we're using Hedera Hashgraph really as a barometer for the overall space and generally where the altcoin sector is. We can pull up another chart, and this one being Cardano, one that many of you know we did sensationally well from in the last bull market. And it was due to a setup just like the one that it and many of the other altcoin sector is currently setting up. I believe Cardano is also in that denial phase if you're looking at it through the lens of an emotional cycle, but technically is on the cusp of continuation to the upside, more broadly with the industry as a whole. If you look at the total market cap, really all it's done is run into an all-time high, a key level of significance, often where you'll find resistance. It's pulled back and it's found that resistance, ready for that continuation into price discovery. But if you look at Cardano and you compare that to the Wall Street cheat sheet and of course Bitcoin back in 2020, it's in the exact same position, ladies and gentlemen. Many of these have smaller technical patterns, seeing that continuation, but also macro patterns that we're leaving out and just focusing on the positioning of these moving forwards. The next altcoin that we have for you is Algorand, one of our favorites. You guys know that we've interviewed pretty much the entire Algorand team, or certainly the people higher up at the Algo Foundation. In fact, I had the pleasure of interviewing Quantos' CEO just the other day, Arnaud, and we spoke about how they're leveraging Algorand to solve a major issue in the payment sector worth trillions of dollars. But let's not focus on fundamentally why Algorand's impressive. Let's talk about technically where it's at. Again, you're spotting a common theme here throughout the altcoin sector. And with this, a major opportunity presents itself. Let's look at another altcoin. So what you're spotting right now is a current theme throughout the positioning of the altcoin sector. Technically, let's throw up another one being Chainlink. So Chainlink, in the exact same position, it's currently in that denial phase. It's made major moves, it's pulling back. You know, we were accumulating throughout that accumulation period, which is what we do here on All In Crypto. You want to find out what we're buying and where, do become a Patreon. Let's take a look at another altcoin being Dogecoin. Now, this is one that I don't own and really have no biases towards. If you guys want to invest in meme coins, that's your own choice. However, really what we're showing here is where it is technically. It's in line with the rest of the altcoin sector. And it's not just Dogecoin, it's generally the altcoin sector. And I understand the disappointment, but your time is coming, guys. You've just got to hold on. I'll be gutted if people don't. Of course, you all have your own financial situations. I'm not a financial advisor. Do whatever it is you guys need to do and whatever you think is right. But just take me as perhaps a voice of reasoning. You know, I'm putting forward the argument to why I'm in the space, why I'm holding right now, and putting my opinion forward in regards to what I think's to come and why I think that's the case. Let's look at another altcoin. Near. Now, I don't hold Near either. They've pivoted very heavily into AI. They've got some amazing people working on the project and are doing some pretty amazing things. But again, look technically at where this is at. And remember that Wall Street cheat sheet. And remember generally how markets work. And remember where Bitcoin was before it experienced one of the best runs that it's had to date. Yes, there were external factors that amplified that, but that's always going to be the case with markets. There's always a narrative, and I believe that technically you can be early to that party. Let's look at another altcoin. Aave, this one in the DeFi sector. This one has done very well. It's pulled back. Many of these, by the way, have falling wedges on that I believe are going to break to the upside, just like we saw with Bitcoin. That's actually completed its falling wedge and will eventually embark on higher ground, bringing the rest of the space with it. But all of these cryptocurrencies, the altcoin sector generally, you can look at them as a barometer for the altcoin sector generally. They're all in the same situation and they all have the same thing to come. And I think I also get that when I look at the total market caps, crypto ETPs, etc., etc. We cover a lot of that on a daily basis here on the channel, so do become a subscriber. You know, we've got one of the few channels that's actually not just survived, but thrived during what's been quite a lackluster period for the altcoin sector. And that's down to you guys, and I want to say a massive thank you as a result of that. So back to what I said at the start of the video, I don't think now is the time to sell. In fact, I think the opposite is true. It's time to double down, understand this technology and see it for what it is. And I believe that's a major opportunity. And I think when you look at the altcoin sector and how it's positioned technically, it ticks a lot of boxes for me, but also fundamentally what this industry is about to go on and do. And the fact that we're on the cusp of it being enabled to do that. It's not just the US that are moving towards this, it's the world more broadly. And the reason being is because it solves problems. The reason we adopted the internet wasn't because it was cool, it was because it fundamentally solved a lot of issues. The same thing is true for the Web3 world. And I believe we're looking and investing in some of the key players that are going to enable all of that. I'm going to love and leave you with this beautiful view. Thanks for watching, everyone.